so lucky to have Senator Stedman in the state Senate. He's just a champion for everybody across the state, but we're really lucky to have him represent a portion of HD2. I want to make sure we recognize Representative Beth McCain came in while Senator Stedman was speaking. Aaron Culbertson is here, the president of the Denver Young Dems. We have, so just a few sort of announcements before we jump into stuff. We were talking a little bit about young professionals. I am hosting a discussion with experts, a forum to talk about attainable and affordable housing here in Denver. It's an issue that impacts millennials, the underserved communities, seniors. It impacts everybody, so everybody's invited. But I have learned to get young professionals to participate, I have to make sure I call them out in the title of the forum. So you'll see on the tables young professionals, but everybody's invited. I think we're going to have close to 100 people there. I think it's going to be a very substantive discussion about some of the issues that are impacting our communities, but also what are some of the ideas that are going through the legislature that can try to address these. Will they address them? And I think the panelists will get into a pretty detailed discussion about that, and there will be a lot of audience participation. So please feel free to stop by that. HD2 is, the reason I love representing HD2, and it's really an honor of mine, is because we are so active at the Capitol. I wanted to recognize Alan Schlesman, who's been coming down and working with my office. He's preparing memos on detailed legislation that are going through my committees of jurisdiction. John Ferguson has been down there helping out. Ed Shackelford was down there before the Finance Committee arguing on behalf of a bill to help increase funds for the Older Coloradans Fund. We really do a whole bunch at the Capitol to try to advocate on all the values that we care deeply about. And so I just want to make sure that I recognize the efforts that folks have been doing on a volunteer basis to really help the state and my colleagues understand what issues are important to HD2. So if we could just give them a round of applause. So I am having, it is a humongous responsibility to jump into my first session, but I'm having a ton of fun really digging into some of the issues that are coming before the committees that I sit on, and I sit on 3, which means I have almost no time to do anything else other than sit on committee. But I'm on the Finance Committee, I'm on the Education Committee, and I'm on the Business Committee, Business and Labor Affairs Committee. Education is one of those topics, with business and with finance, understanding tax credits and digging in on issues that are impacting business. There's a lot of that from my background where I can apply some of my knowledge to that. On education, it's such a sort of, it's a topic that's one of the sort of its own. So I've been going out and really speaking with teachers and administrators. I've been touring as many schools in HD2 as I possibly can, because the question of assessments and how many assessments we are asking our teachers and our students to go through is going to come before the legislature. And it's my responsibility, and I should have brought in my assessments notebook, which is, the reports that are out there, and John knows because he helped put it together, but it's like this big, and there's hundreds of pages. And I was meeting with an HD2 constituent this morning on this issue because he's been down listening, Ray Trout has been down listening to testimony at the Capitol, and so we took some time out this morning to go through those issues in detail. And so if there is an issue that is of importance to you, please let me know, and I want to make sure that I'm spending the time to understand that, to help you get involved at the Capitol if there's a place to get involved. On March 7th, I'm going to do my first Government in the Grocery, where at Safeway on Corona and 6th, I'm going to sit at a table in the floral department, and you can come and bug me if you want. But what I'm trying to do is get out in the community, so as people go about their weekend chores and they have any questions about what's happening at the legislature, or they just want to voice their opinion, that I'm as accessible as I possibly can be, because I think that's first and foremost what my responsibility is at the legislature. I've been working with Pat Stedman on some great legislation around not charging individuals if they, before they get patted down, acknowledge that they have a needle or a syringe on them. It's a sort of a pro-cop safety bill. We're trying to prevent cops from being pricked while they're patting down folks, and I think it's a way to really make sure we're not gumming up the system with and allowing folks to come forward and say I have a syringe or a needle on me and not being prosecuted for that charge. I am sort of leading a charge that has been diverted a little bit around interchange fees. Speaking of special interests, I poked a bear with a meat stick when I took on the discussion of whether or not we should charge interchange fees on the sales tax portion of transactions that our merchants across Colorado are being charged by big financial and small financial institutions, which I've learned. I've been on the phone with Visa and First Data. I have learned more about interchange than you could possibly imagine. I've talked to every credit union and banker who's called me from around the state, and I think what's going to happen is we're going to try to dig in and make sure the legislature has all of the data before then. And so I don't think my legislation is going to go through, even though it was very bipartisan. It's going to turn into more of a study. So next session, I can go forward and say, this is the burden on our small businesses. Will the savings that the merchants would receive from not being charged the interchange fee on that sales tax make it to the consumer? These are issues that I've talked to Senator Stedman about as well. So I've learned a lot about how the building works when you poke that bear with a meat stick, and you know I'm better prepared, and I think that as I go forward on bills around pay for success, which is the idea of social impact bonds, which we have talked at length about in HD2. I really campaigned on that issue. That will be coming up here shortly. There's a solar garden bill, which I talked about last meeting, that I'm still working with stakeholders on. That will be coming, will be introduced next week. I've had yogis across HD2 reach out to me about regulation from the Division of Professional Occupational Schools that I'm going to step up and protect. It was in the newspaper, and I'm going to represent the yogis who have received letters and work with them at the legislature to find some solutions around the issues they're facing. So I'm really trying to tackle issues that are important to HD2, and I just want you guys all to know that it's the issues that you care about that I'm there to fight for, and I'm going to do it. All you have to do is call me and let me know. And if you do come to the Capitol, come on the HD2 day, but come on any other day. You might see Ellis there who gives tours, but I'll make sure that you get on the floor, that you spend as much time with me as you can going through committee, so I can expose you to the process that I'm diving into right now as well. So really, I'm honored to serve you, and I'm working my tail off to do it. And I hope by the end of the session we have some great feathers in our cap. Even in this split chamber, it's really encouraged bipartisan relationship building, which I've taken very seriously. There's things that we're just never going to agree on, but there's a lot of things that my Republican colleagues and I do agree on, and we can work on together. And when we have those opportunities, I think all of you would agree that we need to step up and work together to move forward on those issues. So again, thank you for this opportunity. I'm happy to answer any questions. Barry?
Well, I just want to know, as a freshman representative, how much pressure do you get from the Democratic caucus to toe the party line versus listening to your constituents?
It's a really good question. You know, leadership is, there is no, I mean, there's plenty of books on leadership, but, you know, I want to commend Speaker Hollinghorst. She doesn't rule with an iron fist. She really has, you know, we have caucus priorities, but for a lot of other issues, she allows the caucus to learn and to listen and to take positions that they think are best. And when we need to come together as a caucus, we do it. But we do it in those needed times, whether or not it's putting the funding back in for concealed carry. You know, we're all there when she calls on us. But for the most part, she's allowed us to, you know, go out and learn about the issues and form those bipartisan relationships. I think, and again, this is my first time there, but I think as the session goes on, those asks will come in a little bit more as we need to step up and make sure we're taking care of the stuff that's coming out of the Senate. But for the most part, she's done a very nice job of allowing the caucus to do what's best for their district and then come together when she really needs it.
Alec, I know I talked to you before, but who is it that's opposed to this bill that you're pushing? Is it like
the big banks?
That's what
yeah, big banks, and Congressman Ken Buck.
There's a reliable source.
Yeah, he called through a lot of my Republican colleagues who had their name on the bill and asked them to take it up. And I was like, Congressman Buck, what are you doing? You know, I don't call his colleagues when he does something that I don't like. But